Hi everybody, welcome back to the bench. I'm Doofuss, and today on the bench we're going to work on this MP11 and try to finish it up. Just got a couple of bags left. This bag 9 and 10. If you remember, we dug into bag 10 a little bit in the last video. So it is open already. I'll dump it out here in a second. Bag 9 looks like the fuel system, and we'll put that thing in. Bag 10 is really around the motor mount, clutch, and that kind of stuff. We'll put the motor mount in, but I won't put a motor in quite yet. I'll add that later. And like I said in an earlier video, I did get a different spur for this differential in the center so that I could run Mod 1 clutch bells. So yeah, I won't use this clutch bell from Kyosho. I'll run my 4-shoe bells, clutches and bells. But yeah, I guess let's jump right in. It looks like we have fuel tank and fuel lines and a filter. Let's see, fuel tank. Lines, nice blue lines, that's nice. A little bit of hardware and fuel filter. What's in this? Let's see. Nothing. A little screen. Is that it? Yeah. A small screen is the extent of this fuel filter. I mean, kind of cool, I guess. It feels like with all that volume, there should be something else in there, but all right, whatever. So we'll set that up. I'm not quite sure where that goes yet. We'll see. For hardware and some grommets, it looks like. Grommets for the fuel tank to mount on. Some rubber bushings for something, I guess. And some screws. Let's see what we do. Yeah. All right. So it looks like they have us put the grommets through the ears on the fuel tank. Let's do that. So these ears, it looks like these grommets will slip in there, but I guess we're going to see how easy that is. I'll take a driver and try to press it bit by bit without letting it come out. Maybe. Yeah, it looks like that's working. And yeah. Perfect. Nice. Okay. Let's do the other. Did I lose it? Where'd the other one go? That's problematic. Oh, here it is. So I'll do the same thing. I'll try to wedge this in with the end of the driver. Like that's close. So close. There we go. Nice. Okay. With that, it looks like we'll put 2 screws into what? Oh, some plastic bits that we had from a sprue earlier. Looks like these two, or no, just one of these. One of these. Oh, and one of these, the hex one. Okay. So that, and this guy. All right. And so how do these go? They get these two countersunk screws into the bottom. Let's see, which hole does this one go in? It looks like it goes in the one right here in the corner of the little Kyosho cutout. And it looks like, which side's up? Which side is up? That'll go there. It kind of looks like the flat side is up. Let's go with that. And we'll put this side with the rounded bump out down. Let's see how this goes. Oops, that's all right. Let's see if we can get that on there. Looks like it. Or not. Go this way. Okay. Next, get this other chunk. It looks like, where does it go? Looks like it goes with the skinny side down, and it actually gets, yeah. What are they saying? 3 millimeters. What does that mean, 3 millimeters? I feel like they're trying to tell me something, but I don't know what it is. Do these have different? Aha, that's what they're trying to tell me. I've cut off the wrong piece. They're different lengths of the part that presses into the chassis. So this one actually goes through the chassis and stands proud, which is not going to work. It looks like that. See how it sticks out there? And if we use the other one, see what happens. And if we put the other one, yeah, that's flush with the chassis. Perfect. So we just had the wrong one. Not a big deal. Same thing, we'll just run this screw up through the bottom. Just get that lined up. Okay, nice and easy. Next, I think we're going to put the fuel tank itself on. And it looks like the two small rubber bushings are actually feet for the tank. They go on the bottom here. Nice. Nice. Okay. Let's put it down on the car. do we do on this side? Is that entirely clear? I don't quite understand. They're saying, ooh, this post actually goes over here? Yes. It looks like that. Yeah. Because this should go, yeah. Okay. So that's just in the wrong hole. So this screw should be over. How do I hold the top of this? Is it a 7 mil? Of course not. Cross wrench, maybe with an 8. 10. 8. 10. No, 10's too big. 8. Perfect. So I missed a trick there, huh? That's all right. Standard Doofuss rework. To be fair to me, the manual doesn't do the best job of illustrating these things. Or I'm just too dumb to read it. Probably the latter. I am just too dumb to read it. All right. Now we can put the fuel tank on. Maybe. Let's see. Yeah, that looks better. Put my manual aside for a moment. Yeah. Yeah. That started. And we'll get this one going. And I'll just kind of snug this down to the grommet. Like it's the grommet will do, it's the tank is supposed to, move some, right? And the screw is really just kind of making sure that the tank doesn't, go away, float away. So the grommets do, the bulk of the work and leave the tank sort of able to flop around as the car moves. All right, that looks pretty good. What do we do next? Build a clutch and put it on the motor. It looks like we'll skip that step for now. Said we'll come back to that. We will put I'll put the motor mounts down on the chassis just to get that going. Then the other things we need to do is run the lines for fuel and the fuel filter. So let's go ahead and do that. Do we have screws for the motor mount? Where do those come in? The screws that hold the motor mount down to the chassis plate. These are in bag 10. Okay. Okay. Here's bag 10. Like I said, I'm not going to build the clutch and all that stuff here. I may come back to that at some point, but I'll run what I've got for now. Does look like a nice clutch. 3-shoe though. I typically don't run. I usually run 4-shoe across all our fleet. All of our fleet, yes. right. Looks like we get some washers, lots of washers, shims, maybe. Again, this is bag 10 from the kit. Set that aside. So these screws, these heavy cap heads, look like the ones for the motor mount. They will get some thread lock because it is metal and metal. I typically like to just add to the receiving side if I can. This Loctite, I don't know how much work it really does. You know, as the motor gets so hot, it probably is defeated pretty quickly on these metal plates, right? And all this stuff is just conducting all that heat, you know? So I'm not sure what the answer there is. Are these blocks the same? Looks like it. I guess we're going to find out the hard way. We're going to need a 2.5. No, a 3mm driver? What even? Do I even have a 3mm driver? I hope so. Yes, I do. Okay. I mean, I'm not mad about that. That's have a heavier screw head is not a bad problem. A 3mm hex should strip out less than, or be less likely, or less prone to stripping. And so I'm just putting these down to the plate just to get them here. And like I said, I'll put the motor on later. Another day. But for purposes of the build, we'll pretend that there's a motor here, right? We can get most of it back together. I'm surprised the car is standing up like this with no support. Okay. All right. Let's just leave that a little loose for now. Car's starting to get some heft to it. And that ain't bad. Where else do we go here? So we're going to need to run some hose for our exhaust. Looks like they have us go through this little eye here. That'll be pressure from the exhaust side to pressurize the tank. And then that piece should really come back to about, I don't know where, here-ish. Here-ish. Yeah. Let's go with that. I mean, worst case is we have a little extra slack, and that's not a problem. So that'll go there. On this side, what do they have us do? They have us say, come out of the tank with the long piece, run it into the top and side of the filter, I guess. And then the other piece goes out the end of the filter and into the part. So, you know, probably something like, where does the filter gets mounted somewhere? Where did I put the filter? Jeez. Where did I put the filter? Ah, here. So I think it gets mounted like here in this block or something. I'm not sure how this works. Let me see. Yeah. Oh, it goes... Okay, the block piece goes through that bigger gap in the middle. Like that. Okay. And so we just need a little bit of hose to run from the tank to the filter. Something like this. Right? Or is it here? Like this? Yeah. So I'm gonna bring it shorter like that. And this one goes here. Then the output looks like it'll come up here. And from there, it'll feed the engine here. I won't cut this length yet, just to see how much of it we really need. It looks like this block is probably for a fatter chassis. We won't need that. Last things here are wing and on the wing mount. Let's see what we need to do with that. The wing mount comes in a separate bag. It doesn't have a label on it or a number. It's just sort of there. And it comes with, there's a sprue that has these blocks, and you can kind of adjust where your wing mounts on the wing mount, right? There were two different shapes to these. As soon as I can find the sprue, I could show you what the other ones look like. What did I do with it? Oh well. Point is, there's a recess, and it fits around the like the extension kind of there, and then there's a dot in the plate that fits into the hole in the back. And so the other plates that I didn't choose to use actually have this hole more forward, so you can mount your wing more forward. I'm going to mount this one to the back for now, and see where we go from there. They also have what looks to be like little lifter plates, so you want to add a couple of millimeters to height. Just use these, right? And so these follow the same convention. There's a recess and a little dot for the wing mount, and it also has the same on the other side, so you can put your mount on like so. So for us, let's go like this. So that'll give the wing a little lift and put it a little bit towards the rear. I don't know what I did with those other ones. When I find them, I'll show. But in the meantime, we'll just run with this. Right. And so how does this go? They give us two nuts, which look like they're capture into the wing mount itself. And then we'll just run those two 16mm screws, I guess we'll use, since we put the extensions on. So let's see how this goes. I've got a nut. And since we're going to be using the rear mount, we want to go into the rear hole. And those will just press in. And one thing that you can do that's helpful sometimes is to add a little dab of glue, a little CA glue, right there, if I can find some. This is thin, but I guess it'll work. Do I have some thicker stuff? Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So I'll just put a touch of glue right on the nut and the wing just to make sure that that thing doesn't go anywhere. Try to get that to cure. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Just go in oops, see, I know I go that way. Yeah, like that. Right. And then just a little dab of glue. And that'll do it. Now that dab of glue isn't necessary for right now. It is going to be helpful down the road. As you crash and stuff like that, you know, those spots tend to wallow out, and you might run into a spot where you try to back your wing off because you need to replace it or something, and you're stuck because the nut is just spinning in the spot that it's supposed to be captured in. That happens sometimes. So I add a dab of glue just to keep that nut kind of captured in there, and hopefully keep it from slipping around in the future. All right, so said we'll go rear more, wing out, and wing. All this stuff is in the kit. Like I said, it's just not labeled with a bag ID. And we do need these washers for the wing. Go. Is that catching? Mm-hmm. I did put the screw in the right place. Maybe it got some glue in there. Back to that one. These screws aren't catching on my nut. Why? Why? I think I got glue in the nut, and that's causing me a problem. Let's see. I have an awl I can use to make sure this thing is geared right. Right, that should take care of that one. On this side, oh, I see. I just kind of pressed the nut too far into the hole, it looks like. Yeah, that's better. Oops. So let's try this again. Yep, that seems better. Maybe. Or not. What the heck did I do? What did I do? Let me see. All right, that one connects. Good. Where's the... I'm missing the nut here. Ah, I am indeed. No, it was pressed too far. Try there. Did we get it? No. Why am I missing it entirely? Oh, because the nut is like askew. All right, let's try that. Back here. Let me just get an entirely different screw. Yeah, that's the ticket. Well, that was frustrating. Oh, come on, you just worked. Jesus. Oh, I forgot to put the... forgot to put the blocks back on. But also, I don't think this nut is still right. Right like that. Yeah. All right. Hopefully this is the last time we can get this right. Get this done. I'm not hopeful. Why won't it bite in the stupid nut? I don't understand. Super frustrating. And I'm going to guess that I did this to myself. Makes it even worse. I'm going to get this side on just so I don't have to deal with this shit anymore and figure out the other side. Because this side will actually connect and go in. Right? Right. All right. I'm going to tighten this side down. Hopefully it'll hold everything together for me and I won't have to work too hard there while I sort this other side. Yeah, that nut does not want to sit in there straight at all. Here goes my blocks again. So maybe let's try that. note to somebody, I don't know who, if you have a pocket to capture a nut, make it only so deep that it lets the nut go right to where it needs to go and not pass beyond there. It looks like I've stripped that screw head out, perhaps. No, oh, dude, I even put some CA glue down there and that nut is still spinning. Man. That is seriously frustrating stuff. And I can't hold it with anything because why? Because they chose this shape. Oh my goodness. There it goes. Right on. Well, there we have it. The new Kyosho MP11 sans motor. Like I said, I'll come back here in the not too distant future, probably later this week, and put a motor on this thing and some good servos that actually work, and get this car up and running. And what I'll do is then we'll get some video on the track and some first impressions from a driver on this kit right out of the box stock, right? And then I think for a follow-up, I'll go around to some of the pros here, some of the fast guys, and get an understanding of what their setups look like. And maybe we can tune this thing to look more like some of the fast guys do over here at Thornhill, and run another, lap and video it and see how the driver likes that too. So, some things to come here on the MP11, but that was the build. Went together nice and easy. The only mistakes were really mine. I struggled with a few things. The shock boots, my least favorite thing was shock boots and the circlet clips that hold the shock cartridges in the bottom of the shock bodies. I would prefer to see a nut there, but the circlet clips work. I don't see any reason to not use them, other than the fact that they're small and they like to go flying and you never ever find them once you lose them. Especially if you've got carpet. They'll fall into the carpet and it's game over. What else? Some other things that I thought were kind of interesting is that they use a pin that's captured by a set screw for the bottom of the shock on the arm. I like that. It's kind of a clever design. I worry about the set screw coming out and unlocking the pin, but time will tell. I would imagine it's fine. I do think people might get confused if they leave the set screw in the wrong hole and they try to move their shock position in and out. But that's a driver thing and a mechanic thing, and you should probably be paying closer attention. What else? Yeah, I mean, like I said, most of the mistakes were mine. And if you ignore that there were mistakes, this build went together really nicely. It's got a great fit and finish. The one thing I kind of worry about is durability long term. My son is who I intend to have drive this at the outset, and he's pretty rough on equipment. So he's kind of like my durability test. I'll give the car to my son and see how he beats on it, and if it survives, right? So if it makes it through a couple of tanks without a break, I know it's okay. And yeah, So I look forward to those things. Look forward to some video with this car on the track, some thoughts and feedback from, you know, a driver or some drivers here at Thornhill, and I'll come back and do a kind of a recollection of the whole experience, right? We can talk about performance, and we can talk about ease of assembly and all those things when we come back. So keep an eye out for that in the future. I don't know what the timeline is for that yet. Probably, you know, a week or two. I'll try to keep it timely. But there's some things going on too that require my attention. So, you know, I'll get to it as I can. I'm going to try to make that, you know, sometime in the next week or two. So keep an eye out for that. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'm Doofuss. This has been the Kyosho MP11 build. Went great. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Saw all my mistakes. Hopefully corrected me on them. Thanks to those of you who did. Thanks for those to those of you who gave me some pointers and some guidance along the way. I really appreciate all that. And yeah, again, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.